Hello, what ho! Welcome back to another exciting adventure of Interstate Viejo. I'm your host, Travis Finley. Just leaving outside of Chicago on my way back to... Is that Elaine? What the heck is going on? On my way back to Maryland after a week of visiting friends in Milwaukee. I'm sure you've seen some of the previous videos, but just had something come to mind and want to try to just flesh out some of my thoughts. I'm going to try to see how I can say what I'm going to say in a way that is clear. Basically, I had only ever, talked to and met my friend a couple of times in person, but we've talked for hours on the telephone over the past 10 years. And he has a family. He's been married for quite some time. I think like 15 years or something like that. But no, it's not been 15 years. That's not right. Just over 10, I think, because his oldest son, I think, is just around like 9. And I think they got married in 2011-ish, somewhere around there. So it's like 12 years. Anyway, basically, I was able to dine with them every night around their dinner table and see them in their home and outside. We went out, looked at a few of the things that they enjoy about Milwaukee. So they have a very, very mature young family. That's not to say that there's not childishness with their children, but their children are very, very mature and very intelligent and very thoughtful. And the thing that shocked me was the adult, natural, just try to say it. My friend cusses openly, swears openly in front of his children. And it's just as if he were talking to someone that he knows at the bar or wherever. And I was shocked. Like, I'm sitting down next to him. I just walked into the house when I first arrived, and his kids are doing this, doing that. I think one of them was sitting on the couch reading or whatever, and I'm talking to him, and he just cusses a few times. Which, I mean, like, not just shit and damn, like, high level, upper echelon level. And I was just like, what? What in the world? Like, I had never even imagined. Like, I couldn't tell you that my kids ever heard me swear. And if they did, it would be far and few between. And man, I wish I could get back to the thought that I had in my head, why this was coming into my mind. Let's see. I think what I'm trying to flesh out is, I think that these children are going to have an amazing sense and sensibility about language, because their father and their mother, now I didn't hear her swear at all once. You know what I mean? At all. Once. Not even a darn it. But anyway, regardless of the fact that these children are exposed to adult flavor in conversation as their father is talking with his friend, and they're just talking about anything and everything. So the kids hear the conversation, right? And I was conscious about not swearing, and it's just who I am. I am not comparing myself in terms of a greater than, less than character issue with either my friend or myself. But I was trying to say that I believe that when these children are adults, their ability to have acute, specific, and possibly colorful conversations is going to be all because, you know, they witnessed their parents have conversations where mother was sensible with her demure rhetoric, and father was acute in his seasoned and flavorful and a little bit spicy choice of verbiage. And I think back to my kids, and I think these children are going to, and are, really, I think, model children. And it was just interesting to see how I raised my children and the way my friend and his wife are raising theirs. There's quite significant differences, and yet I think their children are going to turn out better than mine. So what I'm trying to say is that even though I was trying to be less vulgar with my conversation and more acute with conversational etiquette, I think my children are much more damaged and broken for other reasons. But I hope this is coming out clear. And I want to say this, that it's coming back around now to me that I do believe that the reason why, one of the reasons why this mother and father are raising children that are going to be amazing adults is because the mother and father are on the same team. And they are able to maintain a semblance of correspondence and equilibrium between the two of them as parents. When one is away, the other one doesn't change things up, doesn't behave a different way when dad's not around, or whatever, right? There were a handful of times when my friend had to get direct with his children, and he was very direct, and I can't help but think that I was direct with my children, but my alleged ex-partner had to have ran counter or across the grain when I wasn't around. There wasn't uniformity. There wasn't a sense of teamwork. And I think that has been a recurring reflection of mine as I look back on where my children are right now and how I was under the impression that I was raising them to be healthy human beings. The dissonance that existed between my ex and myself, I think, is where the damage lay. And it doesn't matter how well you do one thing if the underlying foundation is just nothing but sand, nothing but instability. So it's interesting that my friend, right, because I'm just trying to think. Like, I know that my children think that I was a dictator or a tyrant to a certain extent because I had certain standards and rules. And my friend has standards and rules, and he was very direct and straightforward, and sometimes, in my opinion, and this is not a fault, this is just an observation, a bit too gruff at times for me. I would have liked to have thought that if I had the correction to mete out that he did, that I would have done it in a less aggressive, less gruff way. Just for instance, there was one time when we were having dinner and his youngest child argued with his mother. And my friend, in front of everybody, raised his voice and corrected his child in a very aggressive manner. He wasn't yelling in anger, right? But he yelled in a raised voice. And there were times I remember where I would be corrected by my ex in front of the children, like not to yell at the children. And I was always under the impression that I'm not yelling, I'm speaking with authority. You know what I mean? That's the way, in my mind, I was trying to come across, right? And then you have the children hear father, quote unquote, yelling at me, right? Stop yelling at the children. Okay, stop. You're angry, and I'm like, no, I'm not angry. Don't mistake correction with anger. Like, I'm speaking this way because, first of all, the children might be fighting or something like that, and I'm stepping in to intervene because I'm sitting back watching them, and they're not resolving anything. So then I speak to them, and they don't listen to my voice, and so then I raise my voice. Oh, you're angry. No, I just had to raise my voice to get your attention. Do I have your attention? Okay, now listen to the words that are coming out of my mouth and then behave accordingly. But that's not the way it was depicted to them from her perspective. It's not like if I were to yell at them, so to speak, if I were to raise my voice at them, they would look over at mother and she would be like, yeah, I know, just stick it out. Rather than listen to your father. He's telling you the way that you need to correct what you're doing. And while I didn't see my friend's wife do that, I'm sure the underlying modus operandi was spelled out clearly in other scenarios, right? Where the mother was like, you need to listen to your father. When he corrects you, I'm not here to save you. You're going to be corrected. Or in the same way, if I'm not around, or if your dad's not around, I'm going to be correcting you as well. Anyway, so it just was something that came to my mind, and whether or not I'm going to edit this down, I think I should in certain parts where I was stumbling over my thoughts like I am a little bit right now. But anyway, I hope that came across as clearly as I am intending it to. And I think I missed my turn. I think I missed my turn. Unless this is going to go to